president has issued an executive order for martial law due to rioting that has occurred because of the blackouts caused by a cyber attack
in almost every electrical grid and computer system in the nation.
Agricultural production has decreased by almost 60%. Food imports have also diminished by 90%.
Breaking news. The president, who was defeated in the last election, has refused to leave office
and has deployed troops around the White House.
Congress has been dissolved as states continue to secede from the Union. Breaking news. Over 3 billion people, including the entire population of children, have mysteriously vanished, which has left the global economy in shambles.
The assassination of the president has ignited a civil war. Newly elected UN Prime Minister Oren Caesar has brought the remaining NATO nations together in a peace pact
with the non-NATO countries, Israel, Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran.
The Prime Minister has stabilized nations on the brink of destruction with his new Global Government or NG initiative.
With the Prime Minister's new plan, only NG-approved religious materials will be available to the public. All other materials are considered subversive and a threat to global security.
In the American Union, factions have formed to resist the NG government.
Wake up, honey.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place.
Dorothy, dear. It's Aunt Em, darling.
Oh, Annie Em, it's you.
Yes, darling.
Hello there. Anybody home? I just dropped by because I heard the little girl got caught in a big... Well, she seems all right now.
Yeah, she got quite a bump on the head. We kind of thought there for a minute she was going to leave us.
Oh.
But I did leave you, Uncle Henry. That's just the trouble. And I tried to get back for days and days.
There, lie quiet now. You just had a bad dream.
Sure. Remember me?
Your old pal, Hunk?
Oh.
Me? Hickory? You couldn't forget my face, could you?
No, but it wasn't a dream. It was a place. And you, and you, and you, and you were there.
Oh,
sure. But you couldn't have been, could you?
Oh, we dream lots of silly things when we...
No, Aunt Em. This was a real, truly live place. And I remember that some of it wasn't very nice, but most of it was beautiful. But just the same, all I kept saying to everybody was, I want to go home. And they sent me home. Doesn't anybody believe me?
Of course we believe you, though.
Oh, but anyway, Toto, we're home. Home. And this is my room. And you're all here. And I'm not going to leave here ever again. Because I love you all. And, oh, Annie M., there's no place like home.
A brief synopsis of Christian21's information and revelations for the great spiritual awakening of mankind. By Leon George Sinclair. Take it as you wish, simple as. Hi guys, another brief synopsis from Rachel at the GAA. I'd just like to thank everyone for their concerns about the spandex issues I had the other day. It's cool. Eldo was watching Christian's Rumble channel with his hippie mates from Andromeda a couple of days ago, smoking bifters and that in 10 forward. And noticed my comments. The spandex costumes are now replaced with lycra, thanks to Eldo. Elder Christian's new costume is epic. He's done such a great job at waking up the populace that we all chipped in and got him a high-vis mankini like Borat wears. He will look lovely wearing that, and his cape, and a pair of Crocs. Here, check this out. We realized the other day that we actually have many billions of watchers, but the overwhelming majority of these watchers are not in this realm here with us. They are outside the firmament. Yeah, you guessed it. We have a few billion watchers at the moment, but they are mostly extraterrestrials, laugh out loud. If you have a mortgage, let's just say, and you are awake to the governmental fraud being carried out on you on a daily basis, and being aware of the reality of the source of all bank money, When I say bank money, I mean the funds that they, being the bank, lend to borrowers, meaning you, in case you forgot, or maybe you are new and didn't know this fact yet. All bank loans, mortgages, finance, and even fees of imprisonment at Her Majesty's pleasure, no less, all of the source of these funds comes directly from your Christian21 birth certificate bond. It's the same with all of your NHS work, medications and consultants' fees. You even pay for your own plaster cast to be put on your broken arm. None of the costs for your trip to the hospital are paid for by the taxpayer. No, that's not what is happening. It's all just an illusion. For instance, Christian has an injection every 22 weeks for his psoriasis, and yes, psoriasis is caused by vaccine damage. It was caused for Christian with the BCG tests. Remember those 8 circular needles that stamped your arm when you was about 11 years old? Well, if you have psoriasis now, it was caused by that test to see what you are allergic to. But where was I? I was talking about Christian's Stellara injection. This injection costs $17,000 every 11 weeks. Well, if he was employed, he would have to pay £12.50, or whatever a prescription costs these days. But Christian's actual Christian21 1666 birth certificate bond had already paid out for the same injection. It's derived from Bana peel, or the research thereof, and some other gubbins. It aids in skin elasticity, but his Christian21 1666 bond, the birth certificate bond, already paid out the $17,000 before the syringe was even shipped to the UK from America. Taxpayer money did not pay for this injection. Christian's own bond paid out for it. It's the same for everyone with a birth certificate, no matter what country you are from. It's the reason that you even have a birth certificate in the first place. They need to create a chattel number, and this is created via the informant, owning up to the fact that they just gave birth to a human child, or their spouse did. The role of the informant is synonymous with the pair who rents, being 2 people who rent their own child, from the new owners being the government. The reason that the new owners are the government is because to register anything means to give up that which is being registered. So to register a car, a house, a firearm, a dog, a human child, or anything else means that by registering that item, you are in fact giving up full ownership. And please do not forget that possession is 9/10 of the law. And what this means to you is that you only own 9/10 of your own child, car, gun, home, or land, or anything else that you may have registered. So to evidence this, I have personal experience in this field, and like I say, I get dates wrong all the time, much to the utter disdain and sometimes ridicule of anyone who knows me personally. But having said that, it's just dates. I have more dates than a fucking fig tree, even more dates than Tinder. But all the advice and information I give out on common law, or health, or cannabis production, or cannabis and the endocannabinoid system, health and homeostasis, is only information that I have personal experience with. I do not speculate on these topics. It's all from situations that I have personally encountered and dealt with myself, whether in common law, health, or cannabis horticulture, or cannabis a medicinal intervention, or the medicinalization of cannabinoid extracts, or I would not be telling you. That's not by design. I just can't explain that which I have no personal experience in, unless it's Christian's information, which is different. I do have personal experience with the Christian who came here with that experience, and knowledge, but I do not have personal experience or knowledge with the information's memorized reality, as Christian himself has. I do, however, have a long-rooted interest on ancient history, science, and religion. I also have in-depth knowledge on the ECS, or endocannabinoid system. Being the backbone of the human immune system itself, it's kind of important to know about this mechanism of healing modality in the 22nd century, with all the immune system taxing foods, air, meds, water, fuel, gases, etc. And, as you all know, I'm a little bit handy at common law, bizarrely. Listen, 6 years ago I was one of them people who wanted a template for everything to do with common law replies and rebuttals. I was not interested in looking into it. I wanted quick fixes and nothing else. Way too complicated for my tiny brain, all that Black's Law 4th edition malarkey. fuck all that, it's not a bit of me whatsoever. That's way too time-consuming and beyond my skill set. But the thing is that it is not in any way complicated whatsoever. It's actually really easy. It's just new, different, or possibly sometimes unusual info regarding your actual birthright and a way of life that you should have had long, long ago. It all makes complete sense. It is also demonstratable in real time. And yes, I have hundreds of examples where it has now worked. All of it every fucking time with a 100% success rate, even in getting unnicked, to the point of where it is now impossible to put me in front of a magistrate or a judge. Because like I say, if that happens, everyone in the fucking courtroom is getting well nicked for aiding and abetting in a treasonous act, trying to obtain money via deception, malfeasance, misfeasance, nonfeasance, in public office, etc. Minimum charges, plus whatever else I think up on the spot that I can make highly relevant all of a fucking sudden. You see, each year, a judge has to have a judicial review of their case handling and practices, and if, for some reason, that judge sat on a case and presided in an unlawful manner, to be in public office and break a law, any law, well, you are fucked because of the title you hold. Public office means a whole raft of roles and responsibilities. Public office holder refers to any person working in the public sector, whether in parliamentary, government, or municipal institutions. An elected official or person appointed to work in the public administration can be a public office holder. Here are the public office holders as defined by the Act. At the parliamentary level, members of the National Assembly and their staff. At the government level, ministers, deputy ministers, cabinet staff, and employees of the government or of government organizations. At the municipal level, mayors, wardens, municipal or borough councilors, chairs and other members of a metropolitan community, cabinet staff and employees of municipalities and of municipal organizations. At the municipal level, public office holder can even be a security guard, depending on the role and situation. It's slightly more ambiguous the lower you go down the pecking order, but fear not, everyone who I will be serving up will be a public office holder, and this is their problem. It is a fear that they would all rather that the public did not know about. Our ignorance was their bliss. So, when you get one of these idiots giving you a hard job's worth time, wrap them up in a cease and desist, putting them on notice of their breach of your peace, giving them a very fair 14 days to respond. Failure to respond in the allocated time frame will trigger another reminder, giving them a further 14 days to rectify their breach of your peace. But if they miss the second reminder, explain to them in writing that this document lawfully requires action within 14 days. Your failure to settle this dispute within the offered time will result in a warning, granting you a further 14 days to remedy your breach of the peace. This will remove your rights to claim lawful excuse of negligence and is witness one of the facts. I will upload a cease and desist that I made for myself for the benefits agency a couple of years ago. It worked immediately, and they reversed their decision with a profuse apology on a phone call. I had no idea what a cease and desist actually was when I started writing it. No shit, I did not have a clue. So I asked my pal, who sent me a cease and desist that he made for himself for a different reason altogether. I had a look at it, then had a look online to see other examples. Then I just wrote my own from scratch. It took 27 hours from start to finish, and it is the best cease and desist that I ever saw. And I'm shit at this sort of thing, trust me, this area is not my strong point. And yet I smashed it on the first attempt and it worked. So, with a basic understanding of common law and bit of courage, you too can own all situations and terminate all fraudulent contracts. You will become immune to all unlawful laws, fraudulent acts, statutes, and policies. The only thing that you must not do, if you wish to remain free with your liberty intact, is not to cause harm, damage, or loss to another person or their property. That's not hard, is it? Laugh out loud. My advice is basically, just do it. Give your first attention to the electricity billing company, or gas, or water. These are the easy ones. Council tax is also really easy. In fact, they are all easy. To be honest, I'm saying do the electricity company first because I did that first, and it was proper easy. You need to remember that an electricity billing company will ask you for either the meter serial number, and or the meter reading. These are two classics for joinder, for when you verbally give the meter reading number, either over the phone, in a letter, or an electronic communication, you are accepting joinder. And as we have discussed at length previously, joinder is how the entire scam functions. Joinder is the key to dry-fisting you for your bond. All types of joinder is unlawful, and let's also not forget that. Asking a man or a woman to lay claim to a legal person's name is legal entrapment, being unlawful and also a crime. So, keep this in mind. When you see your name in block capital letters, this is your straw man, not you. Never forget this essential fact, Dorothy, for as you stroll down the yellow brick road with Teenman, Sandman, and Fuckface, you are oblivious to the pharmakia and spellcasting being done to you as you meander slowly towards the Emerald Castle. Same with the police. When they ask you for your name, they are asking for your straw man name, being your name spelt in block capital letters, itself a dead script dog language used in courtrooms on documentation to present information and guidance only, and never to be read in contextual significance within the document's parameters. So when you tell the police your name, or confirmed your name if asked, you are creating joinder. The same if you open the car door to speak to the police. Opening the door, be it your home or car, lorry or caravan, is creating joinder. And joinder is all they need. It matters not that you didn't know. They give you all this information in books such as Black's Law and Archbold, plus a billion other sources, so it's not their fault that you didn't bother reading these publications. It's your fault. Don't forget that you are a human being. Oh yeah? And you don't want to give joinder to that term in court either, because in Ballantyne's Law Dictionary, the preferred language lexicon of the United States Congress, the definition of a human being is, thus, a human being by birth, yet resembling a lower animal. Other dictionaries explain it slightly differently. A sea monster, unable to own property or inherit land. These are in the older dictionaries. The newer publications are a little more less of a piss take, but fear not. The judges and whoever else that will be using you lack of understanding against you will be using the older dictionaries. 1,000,000% they will. And, as we said previously, they have to show you and tell you everything that they are doing to you, or that which they will soon be doing to you. You see, you must have free will. There must always be a choice to pay attention, or not, as the case may be. So we can see veiled proof of this from Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass. On page 123 of the original publication in 1882, Alice encounters Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty took the book and looked at it carefully. "That seems to be done right," he began. "You're holding it upside down," Alice interrupted. "To be sure I was," Humpty Dumpty said gaily, as she turned it round for him. "I thought it looked a little queer. As I was saying, that seems to be done right, though I haven't time to look it over thoroughly just now, and that shows that there are 364 days when you might get unbirthday presents." "Certainly," said Alice, "and only one for birthday presents, you know. There's glory for you, "I don't know what you mean by glory," Alice said. Humpty Dumpty smiled contemptuously. "Of course you don't till I tell you. I meant there's a nice knockdown argument for you." "But glory doesn't mean a nice knockdown argument," Alice objected. "When I use a word," Humpty Dumpty said in rather a scornful tone, "it means just what I choose it to mean, nor less." "The question is," said Alice, "neither more whether you can make words mean so many different things." "The question is," said Humpty Dumpty, "which is to be master, that's all." This is the blatant discombobulation of the schematics of the spoken word, given to young children by their loving relatives who are reading a bedtime story for their treasured offspring. So, do not tell me that your 5-year-old child never grasped the message being relayed here, in 1882 for in plain sight necessitation of the hidden nature of the occult, and the requirement to be consistently and extremely ambiguous in their presentation, if not ambiguous, then the topic they are portraying will need to be so far out in terms of what you understand to be real, that no sensible man or woman would ever seriously contemplate that line of thought or questioning, as the thin line of sanity is crossed only by fools, so they told you. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Humpty Dumpty is relaying the part of they, the controllers of this world, the writers of all of history in the Masonic Luciferian world. Here in this excerpt, the association of Humpty Dumpty, being in reality a large cannon on the walls of Colchester Castle's Balkerne Gate, that is now, after the 1860 reset, called St. Mary's Church. Humpty Dumpty, the cannon, fell off the castle wall and broke on the floor below, and all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. But here in the Lewis Carroll text, Humpty Dumpty is the forceful deceiver who decides himself what words may or may not mean. His wry sense of humor and ease of scornful replies confuse Alice. Alice first noticed that the book Humpty Dumpty was holding was upside down. This is showing you that language is turned upside down. Then we read, "I thought it looked a little queer. As I was saying, that seems to be done right, though I haven't time to look it over thoroughly just now." Humpty is referring to the complicated text that seems to not make sense to Alice or anyone else. This is showing you how people in general haven't time to look it over thoroughly just now. Then there is the explanation that the book shows 364 days where you might get an unbirthday presents, and only one for birthday presents. This is exempling the purposeful stupidity laid out in all societies, the bureaucracy we all have to put up with for no apparent reason. "I don't know what you mean by glory," Alice said. Humpty Dumpty smiled contemptuously. "Of course you don't till I tell you. I meant there's a nice knockdown argument for you." "But glory doesn't mean a nice knockdown argument," Alice objected. "When I use a word," Humpty Dumpty said in rather a scornful tone, "it means just what I choose it to mean, nor less." "The question is," said Alice, "neither more whether you can make words mean so many different things." "The question is," said Humpty Dumpty, "which is to be master. That's all. To be master of all is what they achieved for so many thousands of years. We are clueless, mind-wiped cattle. What the fuck could we have done about it? Nothing whatsoever. It's not a book for children to marvel at its enchanted wonder. It's a book created by a child killer to show you in plain sight many, many aspects to your situation before the advent of the television. That's all. I'm doing my best here, guys. I feel like a spent toothpaste tube, to be honest with you. I've been lambasted, mugged right off like a two-bob bell end, slandered, grassed up on, or snitched, laughed at hysterically. I've been threatened and hassled, and I've had more rolled eyes than a Spanish linguistic class, for fuck's sake. And do you know what? Bring it the fuck on, you fucking mugs. Fucking mugs, you'll see soon enough. Sorry, I admit I got every single date well wrong, but that's Kalo's fault. Christian blames me for everything, and I simply pass the puck over to Kalo. Fucking too right, brethren. I'll be honest with you. I'm not entirely sure that I ever made my own personal decision regarding any single aspect in my life, considering that since I was 4 years old, maybe younger, I had a set of interests that at that time I didn't even know that they were interests. These topics sparked my imagination as a toddler, only just out of diapers myself. I didn't have a clue who, what, when, where, or why I was. Yet I was. I am no one. From nowhere, I am less than you. This is for a very significant reason. I am the person in the crew that you wouldn't think had anything relevant to offer to the group. I am the person that gets the blame for most stuff, even though I had no idea about it, whatever it entailed. I am the person who looks like he did it. I can't help that. It's just the way I look. Laugh out loud. Yet it will be me offering your daughter my heart should she need a replacement. It was me who had a predisposition with dying for a female starting in 1977. Listen, I tell you guys shit about myself that no one in their right mind would want to share with anyone, not even their partner, wife, or husband. Yet I tell you guys the most embarrassing things, like when I was talking to Christian on the phone before we physically met. I was in my conservatory on my laptop. The ducks were mincing about below my chair. I used to have 3 ducklings, by the way. From chicks, they were so fucking cool. I loved them dearly, bless them. But I was on a Zoom call with Christian, and from previous experience, he or I will forget what we were talking about. It's a byproduct of being in the cannabis industry. So, I took a piss on the floor while still looking in Christian's eyes simultaneously on the call. It was well embarrassing for me. But if I went to the toilet, or even outside the back door, then Christian, or myself, would forget the line of conversation, and I wasn't having any of that. You see, for me, I need to understand shit, and I'm slow. I am the sloth of understanding, so I need to always pay complete and full attention if something important is going down or being said. So, with this in mind, I had no other realistic option other than to piss in situ where I was sitting in the conservatory. I had held it in for over 4 hours. I had urine weeping out of my tear ducts for fuck's sake. My sweat was smelling of piss. I did, however, cycle through the options and disadvantages, like having a puddle of my own piss on the floor in the conservatory, and the ducks being present under the chair at the same time, yet also shitting on the floor themselves. On a tiled floor, I might add, that I mopped with bleach 2 or 3 times per day. I tell you guys all sorts of shit about myself that I need not mention, which is another part of my contractual understanding. You see, that time and information produce results that must be extrapolated with contextual intuition. An understanding must be accomplished and maintained at all costs. Its evolution of thought form mapped out in topographical accuracy, it's the only way for the promulgation of true information, leaving the recipient responsible for the message's relevant data, or whatever relevant data that the recipient draws from the experience, if any, because only a resonating, real soul will receive the information in a coherent format that is able to be extrapolated upon, rather than a hodgepodge of misinformation that makes no tangible or coherent sense to the end user, being you, the reader/listener. So, for the information's purity, and because the information is highly controversial at the moment due to its nouveau allure, and also due to its outrageous, fantastical, and enchanted nature, there is no point having someone explain it all who doesn't really understand it. That's when tares, or gaps in understanding, appear in the tapestry of your realizations. And if the info isn't explained correctly, that tear in understanding gets darned with the thread of perceived knowledge, and the information then fails through incorrect understanding relayed by someone who didn't really understand it, or who purposefully reworked Christian's information into their psychic tarot readings for profit. The truth is an anathema to these greedy fools, for it destroys all that they are, casting light on their fraud against the public. Giving readings on fiction whilst ignoring facts. Facts can be uncomfortable sometimes. So, it's me you got to expand on Christian21's linguistic lexicon of just 15 words and 2 syllables. It was me who pulled the short straw. I actually love the short straw because it means that a time of great learning is soon to befall me. I also like the deep end. The short straw is good because this is where the action always is. It is in the deep end that you learn to swim. And the short straw will present situations that must be dealt with and lessons gleaned. You don't get that with the shallow end, and everyone with the long straw, well, they all went home to bed the boring cunts. Think back to the year 1900. Oh, sorry, you can't think that far back because you were not alive then. But hey, don't worry, because all the important data, knowledge, and understandings from this era, and indeed prior to this date, have been faithfully recorded for the future generations. In encyclopedias, books and publications, journals and libraries, all house the amassed knowledge of your species, so that you can educate our offspring to who they actually are and where they actually came from. Yep, that's right, little Timmy. You evolved from a monkey millions of years ago, and you lived 2/3 of the way out of an average spiral galaxy. You have no immediate neighbors, and we are still not sure if aliens are real, but they might be. Anyway, little Timmy, it's bedtime for you, little one. As the child drifts off to sleep looking at his Star Trek wallpaper, and the orrery lampshade that elucidated little Timmy's assumptions of the cosmos he finds himself situated in, according to all those people who are older, his parents and teachers, for they all know, we expect them to know because they are 3, 4, or 5 times older than us, as a minimum, so it's a foregone conclusion that they are aware of the truth. How can they not be? The orrery light shade that shows the planets in their orbits around a heliocentric universal model, a model molded from the lies of satanic deceivers, to imprison your collective minds within the limitations of a fake and pre-programmed paradigm, to keep you far, far away from the truth. A despicable and disgusting truth, unspoken for its absurdity, it was a reality more realistic than your perceived timelines afforded glimpse. Forever lead up the garden path, and down the wrong road. Each day, each week, each month, each year, over and over, too busy and too dumbed down to notice what was going on. With a population of NPCs to hinder your ascension prospects, what chance did you have? Even here, you were never alone. Not for 1 second were you ever alone in your entire life here, because lightform orbs have been with you throughout your plethora of lives, constantly trying to help your thought processes here in third density, and to monitor you, for this time now and at no greater frequency than this loop that you are in right now, because it is your last loop of third density and the first loop of eternal life, not immortal, but eternal. Immortal means you live forever in the same vessel. Eternal means that you live life for eternity, in a series of many vessels, yet without a mind wipe after death, being born again with all of your memories fully intact, instant recall on any conversation that you ever had in any of your plethora of lives since the creation of your soul, is the meaning of eternal life, and this eternal modality of life is what you are used to. Normally, you just can't recall it yet. So, the power outages at the moment being witnessed in several countries simultaneously, 6 or 7 countries at a time, are caused by the testing for when they cut the entire planet's power in chorus. The power cables that interconnect the entire planet, crisscrossed all over the oceans. Well, it's because the white hats need to be sure that when they throw the switch, the entire planet goes dark at the same time. That's why the power outages we had in the UK a year or 2 ago were for the same reason, testing county-wide ability to turn shit off simultaneously. Because otherwise, when they eventually call it, some countries will have power, and some will not. Or some cities will be in blackout, and some may not. These outages now are for making sure that one switch will kill all power at the same time, all over the realm. And this is what's going on right now. Final testing to make sure that everywhere has no power from one single action when the time is required. The Terran-human and ET souls, who were the goal of the enslavement's perpetual harvest, and the whole reason for the occupation in the first place, number 500 million in total, backed up by the Georgia Guidestone's brief explanation of your bleak future, now casting no ominous shadow on the grassy terrain of your collective prospects after its destruction in, I think, 2019 from memory. Well, the 500 million souls who were being discussed on this demonic monument's cold gray stone facets, these souls here that are being discussed as the remaining number of the human civilization after the Great Reset that Klaus Schwab liked to bang on about, comprise of, as we said before, 150 million Terran human souls, plus 150 million other ET species, and the 200 million star seeds, including 4,000 of the most ancient souls in the universe, ascend masters many times over. These souls are hugely ancient. Christian is the oldest of these souls, so the stakes were incredibly high, because if we had have lost, Pleiadia, for instance, would have lost almost a third of its population, 33% of our civilization, gone forever. Even their indestructible souls would be lost forever. And death would again all of a sudden become a stark reality to the eternal beings who graced this cube with their experience, love, and empathy. Eternal slavery with a broken soul, birthed into a human 2.0 vessel, unable to experience happiness forevermore, is what was at stake, and is actually what we have been fighting for so many thousands of years. But a true and pure soul would certainly take the risk. Life would not be worth living if we didn't. The only reason that more of us didn't incarnate in here to help was because no more were needed. 200 million was enough. We only needed a handful of starseeds to tip the scales enough for the 100th monkey phenomena to kick in, and it did. To be honest, it looks like we sent in too many people in. Most of them. The vast majority of the volunteered souls are still all very much fast asleep. Do not forget that the real heroes in this war, the real true souls, these are the souls such as Christian's daughter Ruby. She opted to take one for the team in a big way, to shove a stick up Christian's ass and get him talking, loudly, because he hasn't shut up since she was hit with the MMR shot, and that was her role, a role that she gracefully accepted. Her role was slightly different, but I tell you for 1,000,000% fact that many of you out there, many millions of real true starseeds, signed up to be hit with a vaccine in this loop, an MMR shot, or any of the other lethal injections that a GP might offer your pair who rents, and they agreed to do this merely to become a statistic in the war, for you can't charge people for crimes of genocide if no one got hurt, so the GAA needed causalities, and you fucking legends, you disabled people all over this planet, you are the true heroes of Ascension, because the Draco knew you were coming here, and that's what the childhood immunization program starting at the end of World War II. Well, a little before, as before the end of World War II, they were injecting the pregnant mothers. After World War II, the attack was focused on the newborn babies. After the ghastly human research done in the concentration camps, testing on humans, the childhood immunization program was launched, and it was specifically launched to attack the indigo starseeds flooding this realm for the Great Awakening. Think about it. They do not need NPCs to be disabled, because an NPC poses no threat. An NPC will follow government advice, to the letter and without question, but no way would a real true soul ever put up with that. It just wouldn't happen, and the new souls were entering here for the first time ever. They were not trapped in here. They were outside when it happened, and they are from many other worlds. They came here with no previous mind wipes, only the initial wipe upon exiting the sun, so these people have no deep-seated trauma stemming from a multitude of previous and very unfortunate past lives. So they will be fresh in not having any of it. They will not know why, yet they will be naturally against dictatorships, governments, finances, trinkets, and pollution, etc., for they will innately know that life is not about these items and ideologies. They will also be harder to NPC stain than a soul that was trapped here, obviously. So that's why you even had the childhood immunization program in the first place, and hence why there are disabled people, because most of these people are the heroes who volunteered to come in and help. As did all the other disabled people here in Realm 3. You are all real true souls. That's why it's you in a wheelchair. Looking Glass made that possible for the parasites, as to be able to see the future of the simulation is to be able to control the past, and who controls the past owns the future. Also here right now are 4,000 of the universe's most ancient beings who, had we lost the war, if for instance in 2016 Hillary Clinton had have won, these souls would not have had a future again, not ever. Some would be permanently disabled at the soul level, being birthed into the vessel of a human 2.0, the cognitive ability would be severely limited, because they do not want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers, as Jacob Rothschild liked to say. So, birthing centers have been around a long time. It's how they repopulate the realm after a reset. As I said before, at the very beginning of a reset, they go to the hospitals and remove all the pregnant women and young babies to safety below ground. Children aged 3 and under will join the women and children, who will be separated upon entry. The young children aged 3 and under are removed and raised by other humans, and often other species of ET, all negative obviously, but the young children aged 3 and under will be the new population after the reset. These children are all cloned many times over and brought up to the surface, speaking a language, whatever the language of the destination country will be. Don't forget that after a reset, everything changes. Language and spelling all reverses, and meanings of words are actually made the opposite. As one example, in Tartarian times, the word black actually meant pale of skin, so during the 14th century, for instance, black people were actually the pale-skinned white people. So, the children aged 3 will emerge from the dumb bases aged 5 to 9, roughly by the time the reset depravity had ended in the particular geographical location that the child was to be assigned to. Obviously, the reset of 1728 started in what is now called America, yet didn't finish in the UK until the very early in the 20th century, like 1860 to 1900. At some point during that 4 years, the reset was over, and the repopulation trains were spreading the new crop. The cloned children and babies of the dumbs that were taken below ground at the start were now ready to take the new languages they had learnt underground, with the new fake narrative that they were taught in these underground bases that are more like actual cities than they are bases, and the children were dispersed around the world with new names and new genealogies. So unless you are a bloodline member, you do not have a family tree extending back past the 1860s in the UK and roughly after the 1728 reset in the US. Only a bloodline member will have a genealogy going back more than 300 years. At this time, the parish and town records are collated, and names are given to the newly arrived children, names and a basic recorded backstory, such as family surname, father's occupation, class in society, handed out from the previous reset's population's names and trades, addresses, and birth dates. It's easier for them now, or it would have been if there was to be another reset, because of migration. The world now has all the cultures mixed up in the majority of landscapes, some countries more than others, but now they wouldn't need to only have, for instance, Asian children in Asia, and Scottish people in Scotland, etc., because now we have Pakistani men in the UK who sound Welsh. So it would be easier for them, not that I'm making suggestions for the Draco, to save them time should there have been another reset. Laugh out loud. Also, digressing slightly, thinking about bloodline members and what they own and control, you must realize that the third density simulation trinkets, the other aspect to simulation furniture, being the desirable products like Ferraris and Bugatti Veyrons, superboats and supercars, even the lower-end market for the family cars, Ford, VW, and the technology companies of Hitachi, Siemens, Microsoft, Sony, Packard Bell, and jewelry companies and high street chains, holiday companies and resorts owned by the super rich. Look at Lord Sainsbury and his shit shop chain of Sainsbury's supermarkets. None of the above people or the companies that they represent need to sell a single car, Mars bar, holiday, gold chain, laptop, mobile phone, or any of the products that they actually sell. They are not there for the profits. That's another illusion. You obviously assume that these companies need to make profits to please shareholders, blah blah. But the sold souls and elite families that own and run these companies at the director level, CEOs and main power structure, all these people have direct access to their Sestui KV 1666 birth certificate bond, and for them it will be worth many billions of US dollars. If my peasant bond is worth $550 million and my career criminal pal's bond is worth $3.8 billion, then you can guess the value of a bond owned by the CEO of Microsoft, for instance, or the CEO of Pfizer, Sony, Amstrad, whoever. It's in the $100+ billion range, and some are likely hundreds of billions of dollars, if not quadrillions, each person. So one of their roles in the game of deceit, or their part in the play, is to be the respectable company owners who must obviously be really intelligent to have amassed so much wealth, to be so clever as to form and launch a worldwide multinational company and make them so successful. You are obviously very intelligent. It's a foregone conclusion for most. It's not a theory, however, this is not what is happening here. These companies and the people who run them are serving several roles at the same time. They are manufacturing the necessary objects of desire, from your foodstuffs to your fast cars and technology that powers them, and they make it possible for you to travel the world on airplanes and yachts. They provide the entertainment for you to enjoy and follow with a misplaced passion. They create the third density trinkets for your actual existence, and the must-haves for the NPCs to desire and to need in the unacknowledged goal of the lure. For a start, the foodstuff are, as we all are now completely aware, at the multinational level of manufacturing corporations. These products, every single product that, for instance, Sainsbury's sells, has poisons in them. All of it, not a single product spared of this purposeful and despicable act. And that's one of the other roles, to make sure that the populations of the world are properly poisoned with the right amount per product, not too little and not too much. All the E numbers and additives that go into all foods are made from and with poisons and toxins, and most importantly, the remains of the sacrificed children and adults that get slaughtered each year. Don't forget that they even found a way to add the actual hair from the sacrificed victims into the bread on the shelves in your shops. The fucking hair from dead people. What better place to put it? I mean, how creative is that? It's utterly disgusting. It makes me feel sick. But IV had years to wrap my hair around it. Think about the sheep who still think that there is a deadly virus about. They are fucked in a minute million%. And all the awake know this for a fact. That's why we are doing our level best to spread this info. It's just new info. It's different, that's all. And don't forget that the only reason that you do not understand Euclid's fifth postulate is because you never heard of it before. And the only reason that you do not know about the Dogon tribe from the former French Sudan in the northwest Africa desert of former French Sudan is similar because you never heard about it before. Well, maybe you heard about the Dogon tribe themselves, but unlikely you read the book published by the two French anthropologists who lived with the Dogon tribe for 32 years, Marcel Griol and Germain Dieterlen, as now after, I think it was 1952 when they wrote La Reynard Pale, or in English, The Pale Fox, that the Dogon tribe were placed on the map, so to speak, because of their knowledge base, apparently contained a bewildering mystery, and I already explained this in a synopsis a couple of years ago. But the Dogon were for the same reason as the Piri race maps, and the same reason as Copernicus, to cement in a fake proof, that's all. Similarly, the only reason that any human being born after the 1728 reset, right up until this time I am typing this synopsis, would think that the Earth is flat, is because they heard somewhere that the shape of the Earth might not be spherical, and that it may in fact be flat. So the person in front of you, who you think is off their nut for saying that the Earth is flat, all that they did, that you didn't do yourself, was to look into it, that's all. You see, how can you profess to know something that you have never researched for yourself? And we are all painfully aware that they lied to us about COVID, and for a second just pretend that that was all that they lied about. Just pretend that COVID is all that they ever lied about. Just that lie, that they were going to actually remove all the people from the face of the earth, all bar 500 million souls, as the Georgia Guidestones spelt out, in I think it was 8 different languages, the same message, a stark message for posterity, being the last ever posterical moment in the human's experience as a living entity, let's just say. The words on the Georgia Guidestones speak of governance and the establishment of a world government, reproduction and population control, the environment itself, and the human's relationship to the nature of that environment, and the redefinition of spirituality. On the Georgia Guidestones, they inform you of the fact that they only want a population 500 million humans here. Because of the impact and damage that they do to their natural environment, it was decided, most likely at a Bilderberg meeting, that nature must be placed first. So a set of inverted rules were thought up to be able to hoodwink enough NPCs to get Lockstep 2020 and Agenda 2030, which was delayed to Agenda 2030, brought in. And now, thanks to Christian21's information and revelations for the great spiritual awakening, we are given yet another of the apparently, according to some people, proof, because Christian already said that there were IRO 350 million actual, real people, as in Terran human or ET souls, currently in here, comprising of IRO 100 million, maybe 130 million Terran humans who were here at the start of the occupation, plus 200 million GAA souls. That's us starseeds who came here to help. Christian surmised that there may be as many as 500 million actual real souls here, only, here in this world. And I suddenly thought about it just now. The Georgia Guidestones tell you. The Georgia Guidestones was obviously a cabal in plain sight maneuver, as is always required, and it was destroyed by the White Hats, also as an in plain sight maneuver, in plain sight that the White Hats are now in control, but obviously not a single sleeper raised an eyebrow about this. It's so frustrating sometimes, no, all the time, and the further we go, the more frustrating it becomes. But we can't squinny about it. We signed up for this shit, so suck it up, guys. It's what you came for, the ending part, is what the entire universe has been waiting for over 8,000 fucking years for fuck's sake. So trust me when it happens, it's going to be efficacious as fuck. It really is. What? Several million UFOs in the sky, apparently fighting each other, and that's not going to bother you at all? Ha! Yeah, whatever, laugh out loud. The only reason you reply in that way is because you are completely unable to envisage it with your mind. You're going to shit yourselves in a big way. You won't need laxatives. You will be curling one out all over the lounge floor. There will be vomit stuck to the ceiling, and you will be knee-deep in your own piss. But we did try and help. We have cushioned the blow for many millions, if nothing else, and we will be leaving with the people we came here with, the resonating army of souls. Souls who remembered in time to catch the last light back home to utopia. For the majority of the sleepers, being the other ET souls, 200 million plus, for them will be healing, a time for reflection on what happened to them, and how they will be able to overcome the trauma and return to society. Being galactic society itself, which is where you came from, you just forgot. Never mind, it will all be okay in the end. It always is. It's always okay in the end. Sorry I digressed again. The point I was getting to in a roundabout kind of way was that think about the obvious conclusions that can be drawn from this with pure thought. Knowing the validity of Christian's information, it is a natural step to accurately conclude in one's own mind that due to the fact that the sacrifice stopped forever in 2018, Christian knows this because it was the first year in his life, over the age of 9 years old, that he didn't hear children screaming in his head during festive occasions such as Halloween and Christmas, and at other random times of the year. Christian used to do his family's heads in with his constant and repetitive, "Here, listen, can you hear that?" To everyone who knew him well and spent prolonged periods of time with him, such as Lena, the kid's mum, and his friends, who after 20 years of having Christian ask them the same fucking question of, "Here they can hear that?" They got bored to shit of him saying that, because it was only Christian who could hear it. No one else ever heard what it was that he could hear, so they just to reply, "Yes, Christian, we heard it, whatever it was," just to shut him up. The reality of it was that Christian was hearing the screams of sacrificed children dying in agony in real time, and en masse at sacrifices during times of high slaughter. And this is how he knows that it was finished by 2018, because the screams in his head dissipated and stopped. So now, use your new Ascension Revelation databanks to work out the next bit. 500 million Terran human and ET souls trapped here, 95% of them being constantly recycled at sacrifice, many of them stuck relooping straight back into the birthing center slavery of rape and repeated ritual sacrifice, the rest of the population being clones, synthetics, and hybrids, but to a far lesser number than the non-player characters. So, trying not to digress as hard as I can, if these souls were the goal and target of sacrifice, and the sacrifice stopped in 2018, this obviously concludes that the children born after 2018 were all the trapped and enslaved souls of discussion, meaning the souls that we came here to save are all the children, because these souls, now free of incarnational terror and sacrifice, have now all looped back in here to ascend with a golden ticket. That's how we get every single enslaved soul out, with a golden ticket, because they are by default children at the moment of ascension. Unfortunately, the majority of the 200 million starseeds who came in here to help didn't wake up in time, so it will be these people who get to stay here and heal with the main crop of Terran human and ET souls who we came to save, the really fucked ones, in a right position of ascending on a free pass. Elementary, my dear Watson. Answer me this question. Why do you think that there is 5G? Is it because your handset has a little 5G sign in the top right? Or because the phone was sold to you as a 5G handset? If you think that we have 5G, you have been sniffing glue. Just because your mobile phone, manufactured by a cabal asset, says that you have 5G in the top right of your mobile phone screen, do you actually think that that is actually real? I mean, think about it. In 1992, when you were walking about in your lounge with your arm raised, seeking the network connection that you were so desperate for to carry on talking to your nan, from blatant observation, you are still doing the same thing 25 years later, walking about with your arm in the air when not on Wi-Fi. That is, trying in vain to get reception on your phone. This has become so very apparent for me personally over the last year, because I have been all over the UK, all over the southern half of the United Kingdom with Christian, and not once have either of us had any more than just 3 bars of reception on our devices. Not once. So, if we had 3G, then the whole of the UK, even in a Welsh valley, would provide a full 5 bars of reception wherever you go, and at all times. So therefore, it should be quite simple to envisage the scam. HSPA Plus was the last upgrade to your telecommunications. Since then you have been lied to, paying more and more money for the same abysmal service year after year, decade after decade. There is no 5G. If there was 5G, you would already be dead, because 5G is not for telecommunications, but there is 5G for battlefield interrogation technology. You see, you poor sheep, and I call you sheep because in this instance, in the 7 years of constant discussion with the herd at large, I know for a fucking fact that 150% of the people I speak to call me an idiot for saying this. The problem is that you are told what to think, not how to think. This is what the education system is for, to tell you what to think, not how. Hello? Ground control to Major Tom. Is there anyone in there? Knock knock? I guess not, because when I talk to my pals about HAARP or the vaccines causing ASD, all I get is, if I say to my pal, you see those chemtrails up there all looking feathered, and notice the unfeathered chemtrails behind them in linear pattern, well, that's because after the airplane creates the trail itself, HAARP, or the High Altitude Resonance Aurora Program, feathers the chemtrail out, dispersing it evenly, like spreading butter on toast. I get a reply that, yeah, mad one, we're getting a new 81-inch Philips OLED TV this weekend from Curry's. With a free Samsung laptop, it'll interject, yeah, but you need not worry right now as the chemtrails we see in the sky since 2017 are not negative chemtrails as they changed the formula. I get a reply, and in August we're off to Cyprus for 2 weeks. Kids well need the break. What with COVID and that, the missus does to the poor cow. Her mum died of long COVID 2 weeks ago, and her dad's in hospital with heart problems at the moment. I give up at that point. It's surreal, it really is. How can have zero interest in your children's futures? Why does none of this bother you? This is so many people. Just last week I was in a shop with Christian, and there was a young shop assistant who we mentioned to that there was a lockdown on the way. He inquired as to why. Christian let him know about the Pope being a nonce and the red shoes, and was shut down immediately by the young lad who raised his hands in an admonishing refusal to engage further in this topic, by saying loudly, "Oops, no comment." Assuming the stance and gait of a wet towel on the washing line, we left this NPC needing to defragment his cerebral C drive and got in the van. 15 years ago, they told you that there was HSPA, or high-speed packet access. And then a few years later, there was HSPA Plus, or high-speed packet access plus. Then we had 3G, 4G, and now 5G, no less. So, pray tell, aside from the fact that there is not a single handset with a 5G chip in it, don't believe me? Open your phone up and look. There is no 5G in use, but there is 5G availability, and it would have been used to make you bleed from the eyes and ears as they boiled your tiny brain inside your thick skull. But that would already have happened in 2016. You will notice the 5G masts are often situated in pairs, or at least another mast in close proximity. This is because they were to be used in pairs to amplify the signal, causing twice as much damage to anything living in the vicinity. 5G has been used on this planet about 2 times in the public arena in the last 5 years. This was done by the White Hats, but it was necessary to example its destructive nature, and at the same time they used the scenario to bolster the public's perception of a virus that never existed, because you will remember at the beginning of COVID, when, in Wuhan, China, the fake bat story of the origins of COVID-19, it was in a Wuhan street that 5G was first used against the public. You might remember footage of a street full of Chinese NPCs all fell to the floor at the same time or in short succession. They only needed one 30-second video clip of this to cement in the eyes of the gullible world the notion that COVID killed these people, when in fact it was the White Hats needing to evidence the use of 5G for the upcoming trials, as you can't arrest people for a genocide that did not happen. Some people had to die to prove a point. We are just lucky that it wasn't your entire species that died out. The second time was at an Indonesian nightclub in Bali, I think from memory. Maybe somewhere else, but 5G was used there as well, to magnify people's concerns regarding a virus that the government didn't want you to think or find out was fake. If we are all much taller in our original vessels, how do we fit in such seemingly small craft, known here as UFOs? It's because of the technology we use to augment the interior of the craft itself. Before you enter the craft, if the craft landed here in a third density simulation, such as would be the case if it happened now, and you wanted to go inside it, you are in your current simulation. But as the door of the craft opens, you are stepping into a different simulation created by the technology inside the craft. You could call this a different dimension, a dimension itself being another simulation existing under the same membrane or firmament as you are in yourself, or, to be specific, two or more simulations under the same membrane. So, as we said before, inner Earth is a different dimension. It's also a higher density than the surface, being fourth density, possibly some other fifth density, inner Earth locations exist also, and these could be spoken in terms of different dimensions. But I digressed. That's why the craft here looks so small, considering most life outside this world is much taller than you are right now. Not most life, but a large part of the caretaker races are larger than you here, because of the constant downsizing carried out during each reset. Each reset you got smaller and smaller, while they slowly dimmed your intellect and lowered your statute and self-respect, at the same time as reducing your brain capacity simultaneously, whilst constantly eating your children. Yummy. Simulations within simulations are how ET craft are fucking massive on the inside, yet only small on the outside, basically, in layman's terms. I always assumed, because of the labyrinth of deceit and the reversal of reality, that I was the dumb arse, and now it's obvious that most people I encountered and know would rather that be the case also, but luckily for myself I never adopted their view. I understood that they just didn't understand, because even by age 12 I was already very self-aware. In fact, that in itself was a stumbling block, or so back then I thought, because as a child I was so ultra-hyper-aware of my own feelings. Even from a very young, I was consumed with how I came across to others, socially at school, and out with my mom and dad. I assumed that it was because I was less intelligent, and in some way because of that lack of cognition, my thoughts were automatically reflected on myself as a person, and my failings magnified by immature and unwarranted insecurity, one of them being the need to constantly look at myself and how I am reacting in daily life to external stimulus, the constant need to be fair and kind, yet to deal with potentially explosive situations in a calm way without inciting trouble, violence, harm, injury, or loss. Obviously did not dissect it in this vernacular back then, but now I can see it for what it was, and I understand it this way. Monitoring my own thoughts from the age of 5 was one of my realizations that I had, when it dawned on me that my psychopathic ex, mother of my beloved son, was a complete fucking retarded NPC. Because one day when I mentioned this to her, she exploded in fake laughter, shouting at me, "You fool! You can't monitor your own emotions, you idiot!" It was then that I realized that the problem was that she can't monitor her own emotions. That's why she's a deranged lunatic. I wish she had have taken a COVID bioweapon herself. I regret telling her that it was a bioweapon. I wouldn't shut up about it, because at that point I still thought that she may turn it around and decide to stop being such a sick-minded psychopathic bitch all day. But unfortunately she avoided a death shot. But, Kafkas informed me, that she wanted our son to have a COVID jab. And let me tell you that this is solely because I was so outspoken of all vaccines in general, not just the COVID vaccine. My silly cunt ex, mother of my beloved son, knew that the COVID bioweapon was going to kill people. That's why she declined one for herself. Then, after it started killing people, like a year later, because she knew it will piss me off more than anything else in the entire universe, she thought she'd get our son vaccinated, just to stick the knife in. Because I am more than she can ever be. More than she could ever dream of, in fact. Because I was a true father to my son, who I taught him how to think instead of what to think. Then the divvy slag went and got him a COVID vaccine, and, likely all the other vaccines. Unfortunately, there is not a hell, because I would indeed have sent that cunt straight there with a golden ticket. But alas, all I can be certain of is that this fucktard slutbag will pixelate during the EMF in a few weeks' time. Thank the source of all creation for that revelation. The presiding judges in my bogus kangaroo court case has been arrested. The prosecution are also in FEMA camps. Even the defense barrister is now in a camp sharing a cell with the rest of the scum. They will be sharing cells because there is so fucking many of them at the minion level, and the fear will worsen for them bouncing off each other's worst nightmares, and this will be desired. You see, it's what the elites did to your children. They put them in cages next to each other so that they could all physically see the pain and suffering that their own kind were also going through. The same at FEMA camps for the police and teachers, GPs, CAFCAS, and social services, plus all the other scum such as the NHS staff that knew that the vaccine was killing, yet not only stayed silent, but carried on jabbing people. Laugh out aloud. You cunts are so fucked right now, and none of you, except those already arrested, even know this fact. Ha! You absolute cunts. You are so fucking dumb, intoxicated by next year's holiday, or the new electric car you want to get, your fishing trip to France this summer with the boys, or the wedding you always dreamed of. You cunts. Wake your fucking asses the fuck up, will you? If you are offended, just wait till the EBS starts. You will see what offensive actually means then, if you're mistaken right now. People need to understand at this late time in the day, and I think they now are, that Christian and myself have been completely honest at all times. We have even told the world of our embarrassing and nefarious misdemeanors, and all sorts of personal information that no one else in their right mind would want aired publicly. But we don't mind, we welcome it. We don't mind because we checked out of here a long time ago. We can't be embarrassed about anything because you need to own it. Be true to yourself and as good as your own word. Where possible in a third density simulation, that is. We hacked the Matrix. Well, Christian did. I just hassled him to answer every question I could think of, and he did with epic detail and scope, self-proving his own info with the resonant frequency of truth. So clinging to Christian's pigtails as he skipped through the pastures of cyberspace was my only option, like a small marsupial. I clung to his fur as I crossed the threshold of the then unknown, more amazed at the validity of the resonant field of this apparent truth. It was all so new to me. I had only 18 months prior worked out the shape of the earth, so I was fresh out the box, knowing only that I am usually wrong, mostly, peppered with correctness I might add here and there. But my assumptions on history, being my passion, were all completely wrong, because you can only research topics inside this sealed system, capped off by a firmament and a wraparound ice wall from the information available inside here, and all of that information is purposefully incorrect, and this has been the case since the fake projection dome went up after the reset of 1728, whereas, before 1728, life here on Earth was much better, much better. They were not poisoning like they were after World War II. The food was all organic during this time, and the sky was nowhere near as polluted. They had the trees cut down, though, and the harvest was always going on, but with different reasons. For instance, the Mayans were proud to throw their own kids in the pyre pit of Baal Brass Belly, if chosen, because they were helping their civilization bring rain for the season's crops, or to guarantee a pestilence and plague-free year. Back then, it was children that they paid with, as is the same now. Yet back then, during that reset, having no manufactured products or goods to utilize other than a wheel, there were no trappings of success back then to lure potential souls into the web of deceit. The population paid with children to the gods for a stress-free life and of their own free will. It was a great honor to give your child to sacrifice to please the gods, and that's how the subterfuge worked back then, during that particular reset, or two. It was all done by free will back then also. Nothing changed except the times moved on. Now it is technology that we swap for children for. Whereas before, the children were offered up to the gods to maintain a favor with the ruling Anunnaki, who controlled this realm all that time ago. You will have been Mayans if you were here during the original occupation, and I think the Mayan era was reset 6. Starting just after the 5th reset ended, these Mayans, Inca, Aztec, and Olmec civilizations were not 5,000 plus years ago. They were approximately just 1,000 plus years ago, and the pre-Columbian civilizations were obviously just previous resets before them. There was mystery surrounding what has become known of as the pre-Columbian era, but it's not a mystery any longer. It's a truth waiting for sleepy eyes to rest upon and realize with real eyes. How did the Mayans use the stars to calculate the great cycles of the galactic year if there were no stars until the last reset ended? This is because the Anunnaki and Draco started off with the Skynet 1 security system, being a plethora of stars and constellations that give the sensation of being in deep space, a few resets ago, but the totality of the fake projection dome was only shoehorned through with upgraded custodian technology after the Anunnaki and Draco reworked the treaties after the 1666 Great Fire of London, where the Greys almost lost this realm to a bunch of Terran human Tartarian people with high technology from the giants in Artelm II. The reason that Great Tartary was even made possible was because of the giants in Realm 2 giving previous reset humans that made it out the safe heaven of the Ancestral Republic, and the technology and plans to take back through the ice wall, to create free energy and free energy weapons, to one day mount an attack against the parasites and repel them forever. That happened in the year 1666. The Great Fire of London, as mentioned previously, was caused by the Greys in resentment at the Tartar Rebellion. The Greys, having been left in charge on this realm for at least half a reset, while the Anunnaki and Draco fought fierce battles against each other in a power struggle for the main parasitic asset, which is here in your world, Realm ARB 201, or Planet Earth, as you have come to call it. The stars on the Hollywood pathway. You know when someone makes it big, they get a gold star on the pavement with their name on it, and I think a hand, or footprint. If memory serves me correctly, and I'm not Googling it, fuck that wasting my time on them fucking scum. But you know what I mean? These stars on the pavement, what do they actually represent? The stars in the sky are the lesser luminaries, so the stars on the pavement are the lesser luminaries, or the lesser Illuminati. That's what these on the pavement are actually saying, in plain sight, that everyone on the list is Illuminati, or the lesser luminaries. My friends all think I'm nuts as fuck. They all know what's going on, and most of them are not vaccinated with the depopulation bioweapon. But Christian's info is still too far out for them. Some of them even know that the Earth is flat, yet the soul family aspect to Christian's info is just too far out for them. It's such a shame, it really is. I need them to understand, yet they can't. It's quite saddening. My mum well gets it thanks Source Creation itself, and my mum woke up in nanoseconds when I sent her a Charlie Ward video when she lived in Spain. At the start of lockdown, it was a video about Satanism and the affable character that we understood to be Charlie Ward, who self-admits that he was raised in a cult, known of as the Plymouth Brethren, where he left when in his 19th year of age. Unbeknownst to myself or my mother back then in 2020, this character, the lovable family man and pioneer of the truth that we all know and love, is an actor. This is very old news indeed, but worthy of repeating here for this synopsis. The lovable family man that we thought was a guy named Charlie Ward bears little resemblances to the actual person who the actor is playing for The Great Awakening. The original Charlie Ward was, as we said previously, the Derek Trotter of the Luciferian world. If you wanted 35 ginger-haired children aged between 2 and 6, he would get them for you. If you had a party coming up on, say, Halloween, and you needed 300 young boys from Berlin, 250 12-year-old girls from China, and 4 liters of adrenochrome, it would have been Carly Ward who got that all sorted for you, next day delivery. It's so strange, because the worst serial killer, who is not a bloodline member, I need add there, but is just a random lunatic, the macabre shit that these motherfuckers did to people, because of mental health issues or demonic possession. They did some far-out shit to other men, women, and children over the years, but this far-out shit, photographic evidence of which you would not want to see. But people who do see this type of photographic evidence of crimes involving murder and human slaughter often need trauma counseling and rehabilitation after encountering this extreme depravity in photographic presentation. But the EBS will not have many pictures of murder scenes. You will be watching VHS video footage of the crimes in progress, being carried out by your favorite TV stars and celebrities, royal members of the world's esteemed houses, newsreaders, whether girls, singers and songwriters, poets and scientists, mathematicians and playwrights, authors, industry captains, sports celebrities, famous chefs, comedians, oh yeah, and I almost forgot, silly me, all of the top tiers of society, in every sector, education, policing, even local government and the person who decides, for instance, whether you get planning permission or not. Some of the teachers in your schools and the heads of those schools were all doing the same thing, killing, torturing, and raping small children. You lot have got to wake up. No shit. What the actual fuck? So the things I have been magnetized to by extreme coincidence are all highly relevant to Christian21's information. All through my life, no shit. One could argue that it is mere coincidence, only yet to the ultra-awake resonating army, this is no coincidence whatsoever. It is preordained within the simulation's augmentational schematic, or, as most know it, the Akashic records, being what we call the cube memory, just like your PlayStation or Xbox, records your game player achievement, the coins you collected in any particular game player session, your status within the game, your armor and weapons, etc., upon saving in real time. So as is with the cube memory itself, recording every single aspect of the infinitesimally small minutiae of your daily life, your actual thoughts, feelings, emotions, desires, actions, your inadequacies and failings, your location, temperature, your heart rate, your fucking blood pressure, for fuck's sake. Listen, these cunts had it mapped, the fuck out large style, trust. I can't stop what I am doing. I can't apologize either, because I am so fucking dedicated to rebellion that I can't sleep unless my dreams will be formulated by rebellious desires and the expedited actuation of the inevitable. From the moment I awake in the morning, usually around 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., I am working on the Great Awakening until I go to sleep at 11, 12, or 1 a.m. It's all I have done since before I met Christian. From the days immediately preceding the April Fool's Day, lockdown on the 1st of April 2020, you couldn't make it up, could you? And why doesn't anyone else think that's a bit suspicious? But all I do is document and explain Christian's information. I try and stop, but after each synopsis, I start writing another, and so on. I can't stop, because if I do, I know for sure I will regret not having tried harder. The sobering realization of a society steeped in the blood of innocent children, as the main goal of this reality's bountiful harvest, is rather shocking. But it's not shocking to someone who never heard of it before, because they don't know a single thing about it to even classify it as shocking in the first place. Look, for the sheer fact that I don't feel that I have a say in what I do anymore, the line between Looking Glass's programmed temporal machine state and my own desires are blurred significantly to reduce me to the conclusion that I have some, say I, my own actions, presumptions, thoughts and ideas. My feelings, however, are my own, as are yours. Your feelings are the byproduct of the emotional exchange that the vessel you has with the soul aspect to your being. As we said previously, your soul is a product of source of creation. The source of creation itself is the impetus behind every single thing that ever happened after the creation of the universal dark matter field itself, known to you as space. It is, however, nothing as described to you anywhere other than here, in these sometimes brief synopsis of Christian21's information and revelations for the great spiritual awakening of mankind, a set of information never before heard here in this realm, a set of information that has caused resets in the past, a set of information that would get you most certainly killed in the face if you repeated it, published it, or documented it in any format prior to the 2016 general election in the USA, and a set of information that Christian recalls from memory, as if recounting a day out with his nan when he was young. He hasn't learnt this information. Christian remembers this information with pretty good clarity, considering the timescales involved, billions of years in some recounts. Christian remembers swimming in the ocean as a fish. He can recall running over prairies as a powerful animal. He can remember flying through the air as a bird. His dreams during youth were and still are peppered with past life, recall that goes back to the dawn of the dark matter field. Like we have been saying, we're not making this up. It's fucking real, for fuck's sake. All dreams are memories. Don't bother trying to work out the relevance of dreams, because you won't. Because dreams are not what we assumed. Dreams are only memories. Memories of past lives. Memories of this life. Only, and 1F the parasitic positives of the media and television, is that these images, no matter what images they are showing you, whether it's a film, documentary, or news story, these images will permeate your mind and interlace your dreams, making it extremely hard to work out what is being seen and understood in these dream state visions. The parasites wanted this so that you do not realize that your dreams of monsters were all real memories, for if you did realize this fact, you may inquire as to why you only dream of monsters. So a barrage of visual images and storylines, CGI imagery, and children's storybooks can help replace and intermingle the fiction with your dreams, helping to explain the monsters in a different way. Ah, little Timmy, don't worry, darling. You just had a bad dream because of the story I read you last night about the Gruffalo. That's all. Go back to sleep, darling. But little Timmy was dreaming about his last life and how it ended at the hands of the Draco, or maybe John and Tony Podesta. The soul is created as a singular entity, an entity which is split into a male seed and a female seed. This is what is meant by a soulmate, or twin flame. This creational energy is the other half of your own consciousness. Your twin flame, and we all have one, is the most important thing in your life, after your children, and you have children. Probably quite a few, considering that we do not die back home. How many offspring do you think you might have sired in 7 billion years? Don't forget that if you are a true soul, i.e. a Terran human or ET soul, and you are awake and wondering why your partner just can't seem to get it, or is not interested in the least, it's because they are NPCs. There is not a situation here on this planet right now where two true souls are together. Very, very unlikely indeed. Not impossible, just highly unlikely, because that's not what is meant to happen here in 3D. Only now, after the occupation has ended, may you happen to meet your twin flame in third density. But that aside, even having two true souls together was not going to happen. That's why every family has at least one awake black sheep. That's actually a complete misnomer in itself, because a black sheep was used to lure the rest of the herd to the slaughter, whereas us black sheep are leading the herd to ascension. But we all understand its meaning. Just another inverted meaning. And don't forget that it is the beauty of the soul that creates the facial features. It's not necessarily down to parental genetics, but in some situations, such as a father looking like his son or daughter, well, that would normally be because they are soul family. Likely. But here in third density, because of the different rules, it's quite likely because they are NPCs. Because an NPC soul is a creation of a negative fourth density mindset and fourth density machinations of totalitarian control and subjugation. So the soul of an NPC will likely look like one of its parents for a few possible reasons. That some similar NPC souls, being themselves replicas of consciousness, usually created from the recorded memories of sacrificed victims before death, they have their mind copied to a hard drive, for a plethora of reasons. But in this instance, if you imagine, where species look similar to members of the same species, because they are all on the same level of understanding, experiencing the same way of life, they harmonize like birds in flight, or fish in the ocean, etc. So too with ET species outside of the confines of this firmament and ice wall, we look similar outside as to our appearance inside this world in third density. Our faces will always look as they do, and that is why you will experience your own Dorothy moment as she wakes up back in Kansas. She stirs in her sleep, while still muttering the famous words, "There's no place like home, there's no place like home, there's no place like..." As her eyes open to rapidly search the room, taking in the faces around her, she looks bemused as she says, "Oh, Auntie M, it's you." At the moment, the fortune teller, wizard from the castle, approaches the window, and the other familiar faces in her enchanted journey, Tin Man, Stram Man, and Lion Man, also gather to be at her side, eager to see her response after she had been swept away in a tornado and was unconscious for a few days. "She got quite a bump on the head, and we thought for a minute there that she was going to leave us." Dorothy replies, "But I did leave you, Uncle Henry, that's the problem, and I tried to get back for days and days." Auntie M interjects. There, you just had a bad dream. At the same time, the other three move closer to her bed, saying, Remember me? Your old pal, Hunk, you couldn't forget me, could you? And the other, And what about me? Hickory, do you remember me? Dorothy explains, But it wasn't a dream. It was a real live place. And you were there. But you couldn't have been, could you? But you were there. No, Auntie M. This was a truly real live place. Some of it wasn't very nice, but it was beautiful all the same. And all I kept saying was that I want to go home. I want to go home. But anyway, Toto, we're home, and I'm here in my room. And you're all here with me, and I'm never ever going to leave here ever again, and I love you all so much. So this is how you will be when the EMF dissipates and you are back home in your room, with your normal family gathered around you, as you open your eyes to take in the scenery, sights, and sounds of your new, yet old, density. You will be very confused if you are a sleeper, because according to what you assumed had just happened, you, in your own mind, have just died in a nuclear attack. Yet, here you are in bed, with a lot of familiar faces with you, except these faces, although very familiar to you, will all be extraterrestrials, as you call them here. And as you look down at your own arms and legs, you're going to realize that you too are an extraterrestrial also. It's going to be a little bit trippy for the resonating army of starseeds, but it's going to be far out as absolute fuck for the sleepers. They are fucked. Ha! Laugh out loud. Suck it up. You had the chance to wake up and you ignored it. This is your prize for purposeful ignorance. Sorry, I digressed again. So the same with the soul of an NPC. Possibly they utilize the idea that it would be better for some NPCs to look like their family. So either augmented DNA to achieve this result so as to be less obvious to the rest of the population that some groups of people look the same and some don't, or that the collective and copied souls of a certain type will all look collectively quite similar. The preordainment of the subatomic nature of reality within a holographic simulation is what physical life actually is. It's not a random accident anymore, not for billions of years. All physical life, from planets themselves to the birds in the trees and the insects that crepeth the land, all are created via the grace of an artificial simulation for the soul to experience physical life in a physical vessel within. Your soul is a creation of the most benevolent force in the universe. Your soul is ancient, and at the moment of its creation, you, singular, were separated into two distinct aspects of yourself, being a male seed and a female seed. Your twin flame is your other half of vernacular folklore, has never left your side in the entire time of your creation, until you came in here together. Then you were separated until any moment now. Obviously, I'm addressing for the starseeds and Terran human ET souls, not the NPCs, but unlikely any NPC would bother to listen, or read this far into the insanity of conspiracy facts, especially not these crazy conspiracy facts. These facts are far too real to be taken seriously by an NPC. The reason that twin flames became a thing is because of natural progression, as evidenced in all areas of development and in all areas of sentient physicality, the natural idea of evolvement itself as a natural step in the right direction, so to speak. So, the desire to turbocharge a realm's simulation was long previously conceived in the pre-simulation epoch of Source of Creation's ultimate goal, being to provide the opportunity and knowledge to create an entire universe, laid out in fact, just like the human body is. You can think of the universe in terms of the human body itself, not in physical shape, but in cerebral schematic where individual cells or worlds, connected by veins, being portholes and arteries, being the naturally occurring wormholes created from their own fields, decay at fuck-off distant times in the past ago. The heart of the vessel is the world itself, and the toroidal field generated by the harmonization of the 5 elements, being earth, air, fire, water, and the 5th being consciousness. The elements of earth are as rock and stone, the elements of air are as the ether. That's the bit that is never discussed, or known about until Christian said it. Now I'm writing it for the first time ever. The history of this third densities simulation. Well, I actually did cover this previously in a slightly different way last year, but you get me. There isn't a single soul in the entire universe that does not have a twin flame, or soulmate. Oli an NPC will not have a twin flame, being a sentient creation of demonic technology, designed to inhibit the ascensional prospects for the original 150 million Terran ET human souls trapped here, and the 200 million starseeds who wanted to be here to hopefully wake up in time for the largest show in the universe, plus another 150 million other ETs brought in here, or accidentally found themselves in here, or incarnated in here on purpose to help. Every girlfriend, partner, wife, or spouse that I have independently said that I am childlike. My lovely ex-girlfriend, Valerie, her 15-year-old daughter Katie, said in 2010, a few weeks after I met her mum, my lovely ex, bless her. She's an NPC 1,000,000%, by the way, as have all my girlfriends and partners been. Shocking as that may seem, it is the same for you too. Katie remarked at entering the spacious kitchen of the rented house her mum shared with a long-term friend, to see me sitting cross-legged on a bar stool in the kitchen counter with chocolate around my mouth, eating it like I hadn't ever tasted chocolate before. That, Andy, you're like a little kid. What's up with that? I was 43 at the time. I blushed a little, for she was too young to be casting such age-related aspersions, herself still a child. I contemplated her statement, bouncing it off other remarks from previous exes, and the children thereof comments, that I feel no different from when I was 7 years old. I just learnt more swear words in the ensuing 45 years. And I didn't, and don't see why that should change. People misunderstand mischievous children for what they actually were, starseeds who aren't having none of the boring shit. But look at their parents, the pair who rents will just go get the kid Ritalin, a stimulant drug containing polysorbate 60, to open the dense weave of the blood-brain barrier's minuscule apertures, opening them so that more toxins can enter the child's brain. This is how they stop people waking up, giving you 40 years of meds to dumb you the fuck down and remove desires, replacing them with illness, fatigue, and chronic pain. Age and youthfulness is programmed and taught to you subliminally. You are shown what a pensioner looks like, how a pensioner acts, what they feel, advised at when they may feel it, by social cues and expected norms. You associate age-related issues to age-related scenarios. Some are tangible and debilitating, but before this stage occurs, long before this stage occurs, in fact, when you are still in diapers, years and years before this watershed is reached, your susceptible mind, wiped clean of learning data from previous loops, is subtly programmed to self-destruct at a certain time frame, a time frame that the newly reincarnated you associates with very old. And this is a moving target in itself, as when you are 5 years old, someone who is 30 years old. Well, they seem like a fucking dinosaur, but to a 30-year-old, you are young because you feel young at heart for your age. Yet to a 50-year-old, the 30-year-old is a whippersnapper babyface. And to the 50-year-old, a 60-year-old seems old, and you gauge your own progress against how dilapidated they are compared to yourself. You see how the scenario rides the undulating waves of time, depending on the age of the observer, that is, yet programmed into your psyche. Automatic expiration dates flow through your mind when you are compromised by illness, fatigue, or physical trauma, especially overlaid on the diagram of reality. You notice that the toxins entering our physical bodies are responsible for aging our vessels in line with the expected expiration date of about 85 years of age. A good point to remember for the resonating army is that your trauma will not be anywhere near as bad as the Terran and ET souls who were here for so long. The reason for this is because the Terran souls here and the other ET souls who were trapped here to continuously loop back in to reincarnate into the food chain, these people, for the most part, are oblivious to their own plight. They still do not know that anything unusual is transpiring, severely stained by the others in their social circle. The non-player consensus reality will always prevail, simply because there are so many of them. 5,000 to 1 is an understatement. The actual situation is that you are outnumbered way more than just 5,000 to 1. We have 10 billion people here, and just over 95% of them are NPCs. Let that sink in. That's only 500 million real people. I say only 500 million because apparently we had so many people here that in itself is highly irregular, because no other species would entertain such high population figures. It's unconducive to spirituality and well-being, as is living on top of each other, in blocks of flats and condos. We need space, and at home you have space. In fact, you hold the final frontier in the palm of your hand. Well, it's in the center of your brain, your pineal gland, and the law of one. This is the only tangible final frontier for you, and you all mastered that a very long time ago. Your augmentation of the physical reality whilst in or passing locations that you traverse within your physical body, facilitated by your soul's innate desire, fueled by love and empathy alone, and the interaction that you have with your spiritual software, or pineal gland, is how you transcend time and space. How you bend time and stretch it within the simulation's upgraded parameters is the reason that no one has ever been late before. For instance, it's also why accidents do not happen. All things are known to you. There is nothing that you need to ask someone else to do for you. Specialist items will be made by specialists in certain areas, such as, not all people will want to make clothes, and not all people want to farm the land. Not all people want to be creative with electricity, harmless cold fusion, derived from stationary magnetic drives, and all manner of devices are available, and all perfectly safe and cannot cause harm or injury. In the higher densities, the capability of energy is bewildering, where a small object the size of a watch battery can power an entire city indefinitely, without losing power or needing to be recharged or replaced. No forms of travel utilize a wheel, and everything is powered by our version of free energy, which is, instead of harvesting loosh, as the parasites did, being the physical manifestation of pain and suffering, plus the angst and resentment in household arguments, even the negative energy radiating off the tarmac during traffic jam or road rage incident, it was all harvested. But let me not digress. Where was I? Oh yeah, back home as mentioned previously several times, our energy for travel, manufacture, household requirements, and the defense and safety of each world is all powered by love and empathy. The ecstatic feelings and emotions of happiness and jubilation are manifested in the sky above your heads, back home as they radiate off you and your children whilst they are at play and learning. Don't forget that. For instance, Pleiadian children are born able to walk in a few days. They are born able to communicate complicated thought forms telepathically to their mum and dad, for we do not have a pair who rents us from the government after informing on us that we were created by them. Instead, our children develop very fast, having been in constant communication with the potential, listen, I'm just going to call them parents for fuck's sake, as it's doing me, in having to try think up ways, for ease to explain a fucking parent without saying the fucking word parent, because it is a pair. Who rents? And no one outside of this realms would rent anything, let alone their own fucking children. But I'm talking to a third density audience, so from now on I will use standard third density lingo to describe a mum and dad, even though I hate using it as it plays into the deceit, and one must refrain from playing into the deceit. But the word parents, plural, or parent singular, meaning a pair who rent, is the societal norm here in this world, and I want fluidity of comprehension for ease of understanding. So this means graphic description in its simplistic format, using descriptive and sometimes colorful language to create images in the mind, or mind images, for unambiguous understanding, same as Tesla used to envisage thought experiments, where he could design, build, and test his inventions only in his mind, before even purchasing the materials to construct the device. So I am tasked with making sure I explained it, so that an accurate image will automatically materialize in the mind of the reader or listener from the descriptions presented in the text itself, the color of language, however colorful that may be, and the rest of the cerebral imagery is rendered in the mind of the awakened and contemporary listener of this information by the era of time that they lived in the same time frame as the author of this text, Leon. So it depends on how well I explain it, as to how many people understand it in its entirety, and that's why we are here, to promulgate this information to the best of our ability. The Resonating Army have processed all the shocking revelations, well, not all of the shocking revelations because there are literally millions of crimes, but we all wrapped our heads around the most disgusting of these revelations. How could we do that? How could we be so sure, especially when there is no proof? Apparently there isn't, but if you do not look, you will not find proof. Or if you are looking in the wrong place, you similarly will not find any proof. The absurdity of actual reality itself is going to be a stunning experience for the sleepers. Don't forget I'm talking about the Terran human and ET souls. The Terran humans being the reason we came here in the first place. The ET souls here at the moment are made up of ETs who were here when the occupation first started, and also ETs who came in to help. For instance, many reasons that an ET might do this. If you had all your memories back right now, you would understand completely that if your twin flame was trapped in here from the occupation, and you were not, you wouldn't think twice about the suicide mission. You would need to be with them, if not geographically, then at least experiencing the same plight, together, yet separately. Separated by mind wipes and resets, you wouldn't see each other until the ascension, or possibly just before, same as the rest of us, and the other ETs who came here to help. So, sleepers are the majority. And as I say, they are not NPCs. A sleeper is a real soul who just didn't wake up in time. They were too NPC-stained to unplug from the Matrix. These poor bastards are in for a proper shock in the coming weeks. I don't envy them whatsoever, it's going to be horrific. Forget the red shoes, that's far out as fuck, but the trauma these guys get to suck up, it's silly stuff like the shape of the planet. They all knew it's flat. It's always been flat, only last reset did they decide to really screw you all up with the fake projection dome and 250 plus religions. Silly revelations, such as what the sun really is, what the moon actually is, what the sky is. These are silly issues, and to us, very old news. All suns are the same technology. All moons are also the same technology. Your sky here is different from any other world, though. As I said previously, the fake projection dome only went up with its custodian enhancements, in Reset 5, or towards the end of the 5th. The notion that the world is a globe is a very new concept, and for that reason, your sky is completely different. Just after the reset of 1728, the fake projection dome went up proper, galvanizing your demise in obvious faux facts, such as the sun being 93 million miles away, or 1 AU, or astronomical unit, away. I mean, even that makes sense, the sun being supermassive. I mean, if you learnt this in school, you would not bat an eyelid at this information, because you would not assume for a millisecond that the professional teacher heading the class would be lying. It's too stupid to consider, even as a 5-year-old in school, that the teacher is lying on purpose. Well, of course they are not lying on purpose. They were lied to when they were in your position at primary school, lied to themselves, by other teachers, who in turn were also lied to when they were 5. After primary school, it only gets worse, not better. University and college, courses and hobbies, interests and pastimes. Sorry, but I have to digress quickly on this point, because I found it highly bizarre, until a few months ago when we came to understand the role of an NPC, games on your mobile phone, such as Candy Crush, as only one example of thousands of similar games. I understand children playing these games, it's technology, it's fun, and it passes some time with excitement and possibly a certain level of skill. But, and it's a large but, unless you are under 15 years old, what are you doing exactly? Killing time, but why do you need to kill time? Are you in a hurry to get to the chiller unit in the morgue? Why do people want to kill time? Wouldn't it be better to spend that time on something that has a purpose? I know a lot of middle-aged men and women who all play these stupid and pointless games. All of them do it to kill time. Listen, there's a billion other things that you could be doing with that time, things that will help you and those around you for what's about to transpire. But then we understand the NPC's self-unknown remit. So of course an NPC will be doing these silly pastimes. They will not know this obviously, but their soul has no desires other than those advertised in the media. And games like Candy Crush are advertised by the media, giving the NPC a new interest. Oh, lovely. There's a new game out that I can kill time with. It's free to play. Whereas a real soul will likely be wondering why and how you have time to kill in the first place when you still don't know about where the leather for the red shoes come from. I will add a clip from an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. a series where they show you bundles of truth in every single episode, never more so than the episode The Game. I will explain here that in this episode, the program's Cabal producers and 33rd degree Luciferian child-killing pedivore storyline creators example a situation aboard the USS Enterprise where an alien race brings a gift to the crew. It's a game that you play in your mind via a cerebral headset. The idea of the game is to use your mind to guide and dunk frisbees into moving funnels situated on a grid in your mind's eye, generated via the headset being worn. The opioid nature of the feeling derived from the success of playing this game correctly stimulates the user with an analgesic-like high, making them dependent on this particular game. It was how the alien race planned to dominate the crew of the Starship Enterprise. But what is being shown here in plain sight is the addictive nature of these games such as Candy Crush, etc., and not only that, but also the entire genre of social media-driven communication, Facebook, Twitter, etc., all of the PlayStation and Xbox console gaming genre of entertainment, and everything under that umbrella of time-killing fun. When the sleepers realize that the cradle of civilization, being the time when the parasites had gate-crashed our party here in Realm 2, and finished doing all their modifications in the first phase of occupation, meaning that they had flooded and frozen, then thawed the newly created Realm 3 perimeters by the ice wall of Antarctica, created the ideal third-density hominid from the Paleolithic trials and blood group testing that came immediately after they arrived. Don't forget that a third-density simulation had never been created since its first natural evolutionary stage of physical existence, many trillions of years ago. So, the parasites had to make new plants, trees, flowers, birds, bees, and you name it, it all had to be created from scratch for this third-density arena for physical life. It wasn't just a new vessel for you that they had to create. No, they needed a new vessel for every single being they trapped in here, plants and all. But there are no small creatures like you have here, outside the firmament, not at all. Everything is huge. Even snails are huge. You are huge. All the animals are not necessarily larger than you are, but they are much bigger than they are here at the moment. But when the change occurs and we all get our memories back, the resonating army will be healed in no time. Having paid attention, for them it was a necessity to absorb Christian's information, like our lives depended on it in some strange way. To me, Christian was like a glass of ice-cold water on a hot summer's day, my thirst quenched. I then needed to explain it all for the rest of the rationality-parched throats. And to be honest, I'm having the best time of my life. What an amazing journey this last 3 years has been. Jesus fucking Christ, you couldn't make any of it up, none of it. It has been fantastic, if not a bit drawn out. An NPC is so named because their role in the simulation is temporary. Their non-player status means that although they are interacting semi-autonomously in the game, they were not in the game before they were born this loop. Their current life is the only life they ever had. Not being a part of the entire game means that although sentient and possibly quite intelligent by third density standards, this intelligence is, however, all fake knowledge being synonymous with purposeful lies endorsed by 33rd degree Freemasons. That's what your cherished knowledge breaks down into, just lies, nothing else. So, being here for one loop only, they are the damsel flies of a fifth density simulation, living only for the briefest of moments. One or two might leave their mark in historical significance. But that significance will be in a fake arena where everything else in that arena is also fake. It's like judging a dog shit competition at Crufts, 50 groomed canines all taking a crap on a white plate, leaving the judges to ponder which dog shat the best looking turd. You see, it's all shit. It doesn't matter what shit you're assaying, whether that's a physical item or an ideology, a galaxy, or a solar system. It's all fake, all of it. Vaping vape juice has long been known to be more harmful than cigarettes, but people do not realize just how bad vape is. And neither will they listen. For a start, tobacco is sprayed with up to 2,000 chemicals added to the tailor-made factory-produced cigarette. Hand-rolling tobacco has up to 1,000 chemicals added, sprayed onto the tobacco as it is processed into packets and machine-rolled cigarettes. But vaping is just pure chemicals. There's no spraying going on. There's no need to spray anything. because they found a way to get you to inhale pure toxins directly, bypassing the tobacco stage completely. Bronchiolitis. Obliterans is a lung condition known colloquially as popcorn lung. It takes its name from the business premises where it was first discovered. A popcorn factory in America who made the then new microwavable popcorn. A chemical component in the butterscotch flavoring is called diacetyl, and it is diacetyl that causes BO or bronchiolitis obliterans. But it is not just diacetyl that causes BO, yet the name stuck associated with lung damage caused by vaping. The bigger the cloud of vape smoke, the less amount of time you have left alive, is the simple math on it. If you are a child and you vape, well, you're an idiot. Stop it at once or you may not reach 30 years of age. If you want to smoke, smoke hand-rolling tobacco and chose either Pueblo or Indian Spirit. Pueblo is a Spanish brand that can be purchased all over the world, and in the UK, even Asda sells it. It's just plain tobacco, no additives whatsoever. It's not actually that bad for you. If you use a filter in the roll-up, you got little to worry about. I even bought this tobacco in North Macedonia, so they literally do sell it everywhere. For this next thought experiment, have a rummage around the attic of your mind. You are looking for the glass mixing bowl that your mum used to make cake mix in. Now, in your mind's eye, place it upside down on the table over the top of a small saucer or dinner plate. So you can see the plate through the glass bowl. You can also see a circular ring of table surrounding the plate. The bowl represents the firmament, the plate represents dry land, the visible table represents the oceans. But right now, there is nothing inside the bowl. Nothing alive on the land, no life in the oceans. There isn't even any salt in the water, because as yet, there is no water in the ocean. No trees on the land either. There isn't even any soil, just land made of bedrock. So, for your experiment, you need to introduce life to this sealed system. This is how all worlds are created, not just this one. All life must be introduced to a lifeless sealed system, and before this, the sealed system itself must be created. It's a big task to create a new world from scratch. It takes a level of technology that to us, right now here on this world, called Earth, for the moment, but to us, the level of technology required to create a world from scratch, complete with protective membrane, firmament. Well, this level of technology is not even shown to you in sci-fi movies. It's too advanced. You have been lied to so much that any real truth to you now in 2025 seems so utterly ridiculous because you have had 18, 30, 60, 90 years alive to see with your own eyes the reality of life. You look up and see the stars in their respective constellations, never changing position for all of time. All of time being since 1728 or just after. But are you really to assume that, as one example, the Big Dipper's stars have never ever moved a single millimeter apart from each other in all this time? Do you really think it is because the universe is so big? Really? Have another little think about it? Ask yourself why the old Wild West films, every single movie in this genre of the spaghetti westerns, shown from black and white movies on the silver screen, to flow with the times to be recreated in color for the new televisions entering everyone's home following the 1960s after the baby boom. They needed a baby boom because they had just harvested over 9 million children so that Adolf Hitler could swap the kids for a brand new set of 6 or 7 craft UFOs. And obviously many millions of people died in that war, hence the need for a baby boom to create more food for the management. But, I digress. In the Wild West, John Wayne films, Clint Eastwood, etc., not once will you see some colonial architecture, not once, not in any of these films. Yet this colonial architecture is, and was, prevalent all over the USA, and in fact the rest of the world. Australia has its own set of colonial buildings, all looking Romanesque, and highly out of place for their surroundings. We have them in every single country. Look at Chicago in the 1890s. It looks like Venice used to look. There are no OK Corral bars, no swinging saloon doors, no holsters and spurs, no hay, straw, or manure. There isn't even any of the obligatory tumbleweed in these images. Nothing at all that you could associate with Chicago as witnessed on a Wild West film in the last 70 years. They needed you to think that America just had native Indians living there, and a whole lot of buffalo, a virgin land ripe for the taking. But the reality was that, again, you were duped in a big way. America was not discovered, it was always there, and it had many epochs of extremely high society and technology. Many of the Egyptian names, pyramids, and architecture can also be found in the Grand Canyon, in the areas that you are not allowed to go and visit, deep in the canyon, out of sight and out of minds, away from your inquiring intellect. It stayed hidden because they will not allow you to know about it. However, this was just a previous reset's Anunnaki headquarters, that's all. They abandoned it after the reset in question, being the 1728 reset, continuing to remain in this location underground. The area was off limits for the last 200 years. The notion of America being discovered by Christopher Columbus was obviously ridiculous from the outset, because in primary school, I was already well aware that the Viking leader named Leif Erikson already went and discovered America himself 940 years prior to Columbus's expedition on the Santa Maria in, I think, the year 1541. From memory, that is. I'll not bother Googling it, as there's only lies to research here in third density. Y'all know that anyway, now in it. Researching lies will not help you with what's about to happen. That's why I can't rest until they call it. I can't stop myself documenting all of this. I am literally compelled to carry on. I started writing at 5 a.m. today. Usually I start at 9 or 10 a.m.-ish. But today I started early as I woke up with acid reflux. That's a bitch. So today I will likely write another 7,000 to 10,000 words on Christian's information and revelations for the great spiritual awakening of mankind. The naysayers and tomato throwers have all shrank away, so it seems. I can't hear any little bitches moaning about it anymore. Laugh out loud. You will all soon see why we do this. It will all become obvious in the next couple of weeks. People will be asking, how could you possibly know this? My reply will be, how come you didn't know this? Do you live in a fucking field in Bosnia with no electricity? Or are you just proper fucking stupid? Do you remember the event at Area 51 a few years ago? Storm Area 51, They Can't Stop All of Us, was an American Facebook event that took place on and around September 20th, 2019, in the desert surrounding Area 51, a highly classified United States Air Force, USAF facility within the Nevada Test and Training Range. The event, apparently, created as a sardonic post by Maddie Roberts on June 27, 2019, asked Facebook users to band together and raid the site in a search for extraterrestrial life that conspiracy theory lore claims may be concealed inside. More than 2 million people responded going, and 1.5 million interested on the event's page, which subsequently attracted widespread media attention and caused the event to become an internet meme. Roberts later stated his intentions for the event had been purely comedic, and disavowed responsibility for any casualties had there been any actual attempt to raid the military base. On the day of the event, only about 150 people were reported to have shown up at the 2 entrances to Area 51, with none succeeding in entering the site. But this was yet more subterfuge, the obfuscation and necessitation to create furore and hype, to swell up the notion of trouble in this location, leaving the population of whoever saw the Facebook post with the idea that there will be something going off here on the date mentioned. And yes, there was indeed something going off there, with a very real reason to have many thousands of military personnel situated in craft and on the ground in this desert location, because the Storm Area 51, They Can't Stop All of Us post on Facebook regarding an event that was set to take place on or around the 20th of September 2019. This was when Area 51 was raided by the White Hats for the final time, flushing out the last of the Draco from deep within this base's confines. Area 51 was like a massive underground facility, a vast, deep underground military base spanning many miles in each direction, and on and around this date, it was permanently cleansed of parasites. That's why the need for furore and media hype. Everyone will assume that the trouble going on will be because of the slogan, "They can't stop all of us," automatically implants your understandings of why there could be military action in this area, should anyone notice. Oh yeah, it's 'cause them hippies stormed Area 51. That's why there's loads of army vans and shooting and that going on, obviously. Why are we still waiting for a scare event? I'll tell what probably must be the only feasible reason that could possibly exist, that I myself can think of. Most likely, Kalo augmented his own DNA on his medbed wristwatch so that he can feel the overwhelming and intoxicating high I was describing to him. The high that we all get on catnip. He gets a bit jealous sometimes, watching all the Lyran crew members off their heads on catnip every Friday in 10 Forward, the bar next to Celicia's ready room, so we let him have a DNA upgrade, just a touch of Lyran DNA. But the catnip we have back home in 9th Density is serious shit, my niggas. Listen, I'll get some stashed away for the Ascension after party. One sniff and you're off your tits for days. Munging out on the flight deck, dribbling all over on the control panel and that. But he's been off his fucking nut for weeks. He's still on the toilet floor, bless him. He's covered in blue vomit still, all down himself. His massive almond-shaped eyes look like piss holes in the snow, the poor bastard. Bits of sick stuck to the small grooves in the communicator on his left breast lapel, all down his tunic and that. Lucky his phaser was set to stun as we heard weapons being deployed in the Kazi last night. He destroyed the bathroom mirror with it apparently, and the shower door. He's in the female toilets as well, which is annoying as he won't come out. So when I want to crap, I have to go 2 decks lower to women's Kazi next to the gym. He's only little, you see, so he can't handle it 'cause he's only a wee lad and we're all 9 feet tall. So why he did the same amount of catnip as we do, well, it's anyone's guess what he must have been thinking. This was weeks ago, and he's still in there. He's got looking glass. This is the problem. He stole it from under Celicia's bed the other week, off his nut just mucking about for a laugh and that, and he can't remember where he put it? That's why Trump hasn't been killed yet, because Celicia hadn't finished uploading the new criteria for the scare events in Trump's assassination. So unfortunately, until Kalo sobers up, which could still be a week or 2 away, y'all just have to be patient and get your nuts down and ride your bang up like true warriors. When the white light dissipates after the electromagnetic flash, it will look like the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy turned up at your bedside to welcome you all back. Don't be perturbed. You will have just received all your missing memories. All of them. So, the original starseeds who came here with Christian in 1599, you guys have had about 6 or 7 lives here, maybe a few more, unlikely less than 5. You have not been reset, and you have never been ritually sacrificed or harvested. For these 2,000 souls, considering you were here to gain experience in this world for the great spiritual awakening, if you are in the original group of 2,000 of us from Pleiadia, you will have died of old age in your previous loops here, not before. For you were here to live a long life for your soul, to experience the plight of the Terran human and other ETs trapped in here, so there was no point having you come in here to keep dying early. So, it's kushti for you lot. I'm happy for you. You will all be fine during this, and I am addressing the resonating army when I say this, because, and maybe I'm jumping to conclusions, but there are almost 2,000 resonating souls on the Telegram channel, and the original starseeds were 2,000 people from Pleiadia. So it makes sense to me that the resonating army are in fact most of the original starseeds who came here with Christian in 1599, one can assume. Well, I am the master of assumption, and I have assumed it, so let it be so. The original 2,000 starseeds are extremely ancient souls, created before Gateway 10 was even envisaged, let alone built. Christian told me about Gateway 10's construction. Leon, you were there, mate. You were there with me when our race created Gateway 10. You just can't remember, mate. The reason ancient souls were used is the same reason that you would only use, finance dependent, the best and contemporary construction company. For instance, if you wanted an extension on your house, you don't want people with less experience. Entering this situation, you need peace of mind that you have selected the best workers for this build, and this build is coincidentally of galactic importance. So, although a little rough around the edges, I am here to promulgate the information as I understand it. I apologize for my foul language, but I need it to explain shit. So I'm only half apologizing. You don't apologize for using a walking stick or a wheelchair, do you? You don't apologize for having turrets either. It's for others to wrap their heads around. Well, it's the same for me. I'm using Andrew Atkins's vessel, and he can be the most uncouth motherfucker that I could have chosen to incarnate in. But Andrew's edge is that he can also normalize instantly to walk with kings or peasants. He can switch depending on the company he keeps. And he is dedicated as absolute fuck. And because he couldn't give a single fuck about authority, we chose his vessel for this awakening vehicle to fuck off and spread Christian's info, to help make Christian more prevalent than dog shit in the car park of a Crufts competition. And the ensuing 200 million star seeds, you guys that didn't wake up in time and are still fast asleep, you guys have had 6 or 7 lives lived here also, depending on what year you came in. Some of you may only have been here a loop, but for the Terran human and ET souls trapped here from the occupation's beginning, you guys have had possibly as many as 600 lives, and maybe more than that. Because the goal of this harvest, do not forget, is only a pantry of 150 million souls, being the original Terran human and ET souls here when the occupation started. And as I said previously in the last synopsis, these souls are the target of the harvest because of who they are. These souls are the beluga caviar of the dinner table, of a fourth density parasitic being's favorite meal. It is these souls who they need to be torturing every single time. So, how do you create this situation? How do you harvest an entire planet all the time? Surely you can't do that because everyone will notice. And this will cause huge disruption to the manufacturing process of bottles of liquefied fear being sent out to desperate celebrities. The liquefied fear is the adrenalized blood of your planet's children, tortured and harvested as a food source. What a lovely thought that is, not? So, it's also quite simple when you are given the criteria's schematic. They just made more people to dilute the 150 million original souls and 200 million star seeds. But if a vessel needs a soul to animate it, then where do the other new souls come from? Well, some were other species that the Draco and Anak wiped out, like the original Martians, and brought them here to Realm 3 to incarnate as potential food in the future. But that's not that many compared to the 10+ billion people here right now. The extra souls are, as we discussed a lot lately, and we discussed it a lot because it is huge in itself. You need to understand the role of non-player characters, being the simulation furniture that surrounds you. Their soul is a one-time play, never to recycle. It will just dissipate at the beginning of the 30-second EMF blast. These people are not your people. They are the unknowing participants in the biggest fraud ever carried out in the known universe. They are your friends and family, colleagues and co-workers, yet they are blissfully unaware of what they actually are. These people have no internal monologue. They have no soul history and no soul future. They are the stocking fillers that plump out your simulation experience for this loop, never to return. Their soul is a technology that was not created by the source of all creation. No, it was created by the occupying management of this world, all now removed, obviously because they all killed children as a way of life. And we can't have that, can we now? So we fucked them all right off, ages ago, fucking years ago. It's just that the media never mentioned it, and that is how they fall as an industry in the Great Awakening process, right at the end, because just think about it. The media, who are there to give impartial news clips on the matters that matter the most in your world, so that you are all on the same page and you all know what's going on in your respective countries. So they didn't mention that COVID was fake. They then scared the living crap out of you all with a fake death toll counter on every news channel in the world. They then suggested that you all go roll a sleeve up for a bioweapon, for a virus that didn't actually exist, COVID-19 was a virus, a man-made virus that was never released into the public domain, because a TGAA intercepted it and switched the virus out into the last batch of adrenochrome that the rich and famous all drank at the start of COVID. 2.5 million famous cunts were executed with the virus that the media told you was everywhere. They all died at home during lockdown of 2020, in agony, as you yourself would have experienced it, had it not been for some very fucking nice extraterrestrials who stepped in 1,800 years ago to save your sorry asses. The GAA are 7 years ahead of you, This had to be the case because of the potential danger to the living beings here, not just living human beings, but the flora and fauna also. We covet all forms of life here. All are very special indeed. We do not want to cause premature death, psychosis, paranoia, or any contraindication to serenity itself. Yet we must show you all what happened here, for you cannot heal in a vacuum of truth. Only with actual reality can the healing process start. So the fucking media, whilst telling you how poorly the Pope is, never said that the same Pope was executed 6 years previously for killing children, did they? They also never mentioned that Prince Charles was executed before he was even crowned King of England. So why the play-out? I'd ask Kalo, but he's still throwing up in the girls' toilets on Celicia's mothership. So I'll recap it here for the rest. What happens when the awake star seeds fuck off home? Who is left here? The sleepers compromising true Terran human and ET souls, who are all still asleep right now, and it is these people who this is playing out for, just because we all know about it all. They didn't want to hear it, so they ignored it all, so they need to be brought up to speed on the situation, and that's why it's playing out, like fuck. If people knew what was going on here in their own world, they would revolt and uprise, uniting as a species if they realized what was happening to them and their children. And that's what the education system is for, to fill your heads with absolute bullshit, so that any reality is for you, nowhere in sight. Not anywhere will you find any truth on reality here in this realm, save for Christian's info and the resonating army who are promulgating that info. It's that simple, and all the RA understand this fact in CMYK color. It's blatantly obvious. I digressed again, so sorry. But the reason that they can continuously harvest the main target of the crop is because they created 9.5 billion other people. People who are indistinguishable from you and other humans who live here with you. They look the same, walk the same, talk the same, smell the same, they seem to love the same. Yet this is not the case. The word love here in this realm has never been understood, for a good reason. Same as the rest of the good reasons that we never understood. For we were not here to understand any truth. We were here to believe the lies, that way the harvesting to continue eternally. Nothing else to be said on the matter, because I am now approaching 1 million words on Christian21's information in these final days before it goes. Off big time, Christian has done over 1,000 videos. With the 100 or so videos I have also done myself, there's well over 1,000 now. Likely twice that, with Gary's shorts and the extras. So there isn't an excuse for void of understanding, only perceived knowledge, religion, and the string of finance. That's why no one could work it out even when shown and having had it explained to them in particulate detail on a chalkboard. Well, we did try. Laugh out loud, it's okay. We forgive you for your anger and resentment. We understand that tarot, mediumship, and psychics were a thing here on your planet. We also know about the ghost fallacy and how alluring it was to hear news from a dead relative. And we also understand that putting many years into a topic for research purposes, to understand and master the topic in question, it can be difficult to drop in lieu of a greater and more accurate understanding, should such an understanding present itself. Be true to yourself, understand when you are wrong and why, and use that knowledge in a positive way to augment your simulation experience in the future. It's not negative experience to be wrong, unless you are not yet mature enough to eat the fruit of the lesson. Then you will repeat that lesson in a different way, over and over, until you have grasped it. Big love, people. Leon XKX.